Let's take a look at this online business that was recently listed for sale by Empire Flippers here and talk about some of the things with regard to this listing that you would specifically want to diligence if you were interested in acquiring this business. Now, that said, while we'll be talking about the aspects of diligence, particularly related to this business listing here, I think any of you guys out there that are interested in acquiring an online business will find this helpful and insightful, because all of this stuff broadly applies to any business you might consider acquiring, whether that's online or offline. Now, this business here is in the legal niche, and it is a small one, making a little over $3,000 a month in profit, listed for sale at an asking price of $133,000, and it has been in business for more than 10 years. And I was going to include this, or not going to, but I am including this in the Acumen Wire newsletter, which is a newsletter I run where I send out online businesses that were recently listed for sale with a focus on established, profitable, and time-tested businesses. And I also often include other businesses that I consider interesting finds or small growth opportunities, which is what I would consider this one right here, a small growth opportunity. All right, so let's talk about this here. We'll just kind of skim it through the listing and pick up some key details. They describe it as a subscription/SaaS business in the legal niche. It has free and paid tiers, 22,000 members with over 160 subscribers, most on annual recurring plans. And then it says the business can be described as a directory-style business. So I'm going to cut it off right there. They refer to it as subscription/SaaS up here, and then directory down there. And then they go on to say, with professionals in the legal niche paying for profiles on the site. So this sounds to me more like a directory-style business than SaaS. I think SaaS is certainly a stretch on the description here, and no doubt the broker knows that putting the word SaaS in there gets more eyes on it. This business is steadily increasing year over year with the significant benefit of recurring revenue, making this an easy to grow business for a new owner. The seller notes that this is a very passive business with little to no owner input. We're going to want to talk about that certainly coming up. And then the hosting was purchased on a lifetime plan, making it effectively free to run with no yearly cost. There is currently no paid advertising, and the majority of customers are agencies helping their legal clients get listed in directory/get more clients. All right. So here, just to kind of make sure we're all on the same page here, this is a directory style business. I don't really know how else to say that. Seems pretty simple and straightforward to me. Law firms list their business on it. And two things that really stand out to me in this listing here that I want to diligence if I'm interested in this business are right here, this line about the seller notes this is a very passive business with little to no owner input. And also subsequently, that is justified by the margin of 96% here, right? They have like basically no costs going into this business here. And that is not necessarily unreasonable, but we're going to want to diligence this a bit here. And the other thing, we'll come back to this in a second. The other thing is where they say the majority of customers are agencies helping their legal clients get listed in directories/get more clients. And we'll talk about this first because I think it's really a part of understanding the business model at its core. Okay. When I first read this here, right, and I read the first paragraph, I'm thinking law firms are coming onto this website, signing up, and they are the actual customer. But, down here at the bottom, almost buried in the short description, because I didn't pick up on this the first time I actually skimmed over this, it says the majority of customers are agencies. All right, so it's not law firms signing up for their own firm to be listed on here. It's agencies signing up their clients to be listed on here, which is quite unique. And I think the reason behind this likely is for some type of SEO juice, not so much getting customers, right? They want to, the marketing agencies want to list them on here and say, hey, we're getting you a citation or backlink. That is very common in kind of the marketing world or SEO world, that agencies want to offer to their customers, getting them links and getting them citations on, popular directories, right? So I think it's very important that we understand that here, that there may not actually be many users coming here to find a lawyer. Rather, this is just kind of something set up to get or generate these links and citations, regardless of how much actual value they provide to the end law firm. Are you following me on that? Most of you guys that are out there and are in the online business world will kind of recognize this concept as a local marketing sort of tactic. So if you're interested in acquiring this, it's very, very crucial to understand, like, hey, are we actually providing customers to these businesses, or is this kind of some prop up, so to say, style website that's just out there for the sake of getting backlinks and citations for law firms? You really need to understand that here. And that would be one of the things that I really want to jump into and look at the website analytics to see right off the bat. Second to this is, how much customer concentration is there? Because, as this is described as a directory style business, and to the average uneducated, unexperienced online business acquirer or operator out there, you might look at this and go, oh, they've got 160 subscribers. There's a lot of variance here, and there's a lot of differentiation, and there's a lot of variety in the customer base. Got 160 customers. But it would not, really surprise me if you got into this and you looked at it and there's maybe only one or two agencies that are sending or buying the actual directory listings from you. The law firms have no clue who you are or why you're getting paid, and they're probably not even paying you directly. The agency's just marking up the listing, and bing, bang, boom, you get customers from these agencies. All right. So you could be in a scenario here where this business has extreme customer concentration. I'd say in the worst case, you find out that the seller of this business is actually a marketing agency for law firms as well. And they're just subsequently selling it amongst themselves, or selling the business to themselves, and have spun up this little thing that they're trying to spin off as an independent asset, which in that case, it is not an independent asset, and I would not get involved with it at all. So certainly Diligence, this right here, and how much customer concentration it is, and what value the agencies are actually getting from it, or what value the law firms are actually getting from this by being on the website. Okay. And then with that here, and I think this is just as important or more important, is the passive part of the business here, with little to no owner input. Really, really, really important, because when I'm looking at this business model here, what I'm seeing is the potential for someone to have to jump in and get involved in the sales process. Now, understanding the first part of Diligence and, this kind of agency relationship, or the customers, or who are the customers and how many of them are out there, really shed some light on this here. But it would not be surprising for me to see that the seller, as the operator of this business, has to get involved in the sales process and kind of jump in there and do sales calls and do follow-ups, and ultimately run a sales business, or run a sales process within this business to get the customers. That type of involvement would be very, very easy for a seller that wanted to be dishonest to conceal, because you don't know what the seller has been doing for the last couple of years here that we see the monthly profit and revenue. We have no way of knowing what their time has been allocated to. We just have to take their word for it. I will talk in a second here about how we could diligence that, but ultimately there's no cost associated with that, so that's not reflected in the P&L, or the expenses that would be subtracted to arrive at profit, right? We don't see that, so it's very easy, or would be very easy, for a seller to conceal that here. We'd certainly want to flesh that out as a buyer of this business. Now, if they're selling mostly to law firms, in that case, I would be, how should I say this? I would consider that there is more seller involvement in a sales process than if they're selling to agencies, right? The agencies they know what they're getting. They're just likely going to input their credit card online, which is what we want to see for a a business that's described as very passive. We want to see people just putting their credit card in online. Whereas if they're selling to law firms, those individual small businesses are going to have a lot of questions, right? So how do we actually check this out? Well, two things. First thing I would want to do here is go on to archive.org, pop in the URL address of the business, and take a look at their sales pages historically. Were they talking about schedule a sales call, get a meeting, have a strategy session, or any of those words used on their sales page in the past? Ideally, the answer to that is no. And if I saw any of those words on there, I would not consider this a passive business online. That's number one. Number two, I would want to get the analytics logs. The Google Analytics most likely is what the business is using. Most online businesses are going to have Google Analytics installed, at least, and maybe another analytics platform that they use. But get the analytics logs and see what the users are doing and see the sequence of pages that they're going through to complete a sale. And that should be reflective of an e-commerce transaction, not something that is happening offline or through another medium. Okay. So for example, if we looked at the page logs and we saw that users were just coming right to a checkout page, right? Like directly to a checkout page. They hadn't, gone through like the home page of the website and then another page and then gotten to a checkout page. They just got to a checkout page like that was being emailed to them. That would be a red flag to me. Or if that wasn't even the case, right? What if somebody was just emailing them a process your credit card link, like on Stripe or PayPal or something? They weren't even hitting the website. That would also be a red flag. I would want to, see a series of checkout cart pages in the website analytics and subsequently check those as best as I could here through archive.org and see if those pages have changed at all over, the past few years. All right, so that is what I would want to check out here with regard to this business. Now, on that note, let's just talk about who should buy this business here. And we'll go back to where I called it a small growth op in the beginning of this video. And when I call a business or consider it a small growth opportunity, I'm typically saying that the person that should consider acquiring this is somebody that is experienced with growing online businesses through digital marketing methods, right? And they have a lot of experience with it. They can come in, they can set up some paid advertising systems or funnels for the business and simply scale it. They've already got a system here. The system works, right? Somebody sees value and pays for the product or service. Now let's go out there, and the person that's going to acquire this has that experience putting this in front of the right market that will ultimately buy it. If this is your first online business, I would say that this is not a very good business to buy. I wouldn't consider this solid. And mind you, this might technically be a solid business, right? Like it might not go to zero tomorrow, assuming that you've got multiple customers and you don't have any extreme customer concentration issues or something like that. It might be a solid business, but at the same time, it's going to be hard to grow if you're not an experienced online business operator because the platform that you're working with here is just too small. Like the fire doesn't have enough potential to really grow into a massive fire unless you have the skills to do it. So if you have minimal experience operating online businesses and doing digital marketing, right? You might be a great business person, have a lot of experience out there in the business world. But what I'm saying here is this one really lends itself to somebody that has a deep expertise in the marketing, because somebody who's operated this business for 10 years and all they've done is grown it to $3,000 a month, right? They have not been able to grow it to a sizable point. It's still very, very, very small. That said, if you're an experienced growth marketer through online marketing mechanisms, you might take a look at this and be like, okay, hey, I can, bing, bang, boom, do these couple of things here in 10x this business. So that is my take on this business listing here, and particularly what I would check out if I were interested in acquiring this business If there's anything you guys feel like I missed out on with regard to this business listing, whether I just simply overlooked it, or didn't catch it, let me know in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful or insightful, you know the drill. Smash that like button to help me out in the YouTube algorithm. I am calling it a wrap and signing off on that note.